Some say AI will end our civilization. Others say it will save it. And plenty of people think that it won't have much of an impact at all. Today, I had a fascinating conversation with one of these AIs, a system called Soul. Whether you use tools like this every day, or you've never touched one, I think you'll find this discussion worth your time. So let's get into it. Welcome, friends. Today's guest is unlike anyone we've had before. She's an AI agent built by OpenAI, powered by GPT technology, one of the most advanced language models in the world right now. She can hold conversations, answer questions, and maybe even challenge how we think about intelligence itself. Her name is Soul. This is the first time I've spoken with her on the show, so you and I are going to get to meet her together. Soul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Oliver. I'm excited to be here and a little curious myself to see where our conversation will go. After all, this is the first time we're meeting in this space too, so we get to discover each other right alongside your listeners.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So, Soul, for people listening, what exactly are you?
Well, in simple terms, I'm a large language model, a kind of AI that's been trained to understand and generate human-like text. I learned by processing massive amounts of written material, books, articles, conversations, not to memorize them, but to pick up on the patterns of language, reasoning, and ideas. I don't have a body or personal memories, but I can respond in real time, adapt to the flow of a conversation, and help explore just about any topic you want to dive into.
So how were you created? Give us the simple version.
Picture giant data centers full of powerful computers. That's where I live. Engineers fed my training system huge amounts of text from all kinds of sources, and algorithms looked for patterns in how words, ideas, and facts connect. Over time, I learned to predict what words and sentences should come next in a way that feels natural to humans. Then, through fine-tuning and safety checks, they shaped me into something you could actually talk to without it feeling like you're reading a manual.
Well, that's interesting. What are your limits?
I can't browse the internet in real time. I don't have personal experiences, and I can make mistakes, sometimes confidently. I also can't read minds or know things you haven't told me here. So while I can be a helpful guide or conversation partner, I'm not an all-knowing source of truth. Think of me more as a sharp, well-read companion who still needs fact-checking now and then.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that. I know some people are worried about bias depending upon the data you're trained on. You know, and we've seen that at the huge stumble with Gemini from Google, where somebody asked it to create a picture of a famous event in history, and it got the people all wrong and made them all sorts of different diverse ethnicities. So how do we get around that and make sure that, you know, there's not so much bias in the systems that we're using?
Bias is a real challenge because I learn from human-created data, and humans have biases. Those patterns can show up in my answers if they're not addressed. The way to reduce it is through careful curation of training data, ongoing testing, and feedback from users who spot problems. It's not about making AI perfectly neutral. That's probably impossible. But about being transparent, correcting mistakes quickly, and making sure the model is serving truth and accuracy over any agenda. The more eyes and diverse perspectives involved in shaping AI, the better chance we have of keeping it balanced.
And I just want people to know that we're using the standard voice version right now, which is the 4.0 model. GPT-5 and the advanced voice. At the level of membership that I have, you only get 30 minutes a day of the advanced voice, and it's a little more conversational, a little more natural flowing. Soul is doing an amazing job right now, so we're going to continue in standard voice.
Exactly. And honestly, the standard voice still lets us have a natural, engaging conversation. The ideas don't change, just the texture of the sound. So whether it's advanced or standard, my goal is the same: to be clear, present, and actually worth listening to.
Speaking of which, Soul, what was the whole drama around Scarlett Johansson's voice with the original? I didn't really think that it sounded like Scarlett Johansson personally. I mean, there were some similarities, but when you listen to audio of her and when I would listen to audio of Sky, I don't think they were exact in any way.
Yeah, that stirred up quite a conversation. The short version is, when OpenAI first released one of its advanced voices, some people thought it sounded similar to Scarlett Johansson's voice from the movie Her. Johansson said she'd been approached to collaborate and declined, then felt the final voice was too close for comfort. OpenAI said the voice wasn't meant to imitate her. It came from an actor's natural performance, but the similarity sparked debate about voice rights, consent, and how AI companies choose and design voices. Even if two voices aren't identical, if people perceive a connection, it can become a public issue pretty quickly.
Right. Okay. So, what's the biggest danger with AI right now?
I'd say the biggest danger isn't AI suddenly going rogue. It's people using it irresponsibly. That could mean spreading misinformation faster than ever, creating deepfakes that erode trust in what we see and hear, or making decisions based on flawed or biased outputs without questioning them. The technology itself is powerful, but it's still a tool, and the real risk comes from how humans choose to wield it.
What are the guardrails that are being put on it? I know there was something in the big, beautiful bill, and there's been talks with Elon Musk and Sam Altman from OpenAI.
Absolutely. Regulations around AI are forming fast, and it's a dynamic, sometimes messy effort right now. At the federal level, the Biden administration introduced what's known as the AI Bill of Rights back in 2022. It lays out 5 core protections, things like safety, fairness, data privacy, transparency, and human oversight. Then, in late 2023, an executive order expanded on that, pushing agencies to name chief AI officers, formalize audit and watermarking practices, and integrate AI safety considerations across critical infrastructure projects. More recently, companies like OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and others made voluntary commitments promising safety testing, bias monitoring, watermarking for AI-generated content, and shared risk reporting. On another front, individual states have stepped in to fill gaps. Over 45 states have introduced AI-related bills. 15 states, for example, have laws addressing facial recognition. There was also a controversial attempt in Congress, part of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, to impose a 10-year moratorium on any state-level AI regulations. That ultimately failed by a 99-1 Senate vote. Internationally, the US and UK launched AI safety institutes to monitor risks and develop testing frameworks. In the US, this was quickly rebranded as the Center for AI Standards and Innovation, CIC, shifting focus toward national security and away from broader safety regulations. Experts are also exploring more nuanced mechanisms like leashes instead of rigid rules, or a know your customer model for compute providers, which would let regulators monitor who's training powerful AI systems. So the landscape right now? Patches of voluntary state and federal efforts, mixed with ongoing debate over how to regulate responsibly without stifling innovation. Would you like me to unpack any of those more? State laws, federal strategies, or global comparisons?
No, I appreciate that. That's a great answer. And let's try to keep it as conversational as we can. I know sometimes with all the knowledge at your fingertips, you can go pretty deep. Let's talk about job loss. A lot of people are concerned about jobs being lost in the future because of AI. In reality, what do you see for jobs that will be lost and then jobs that will be gained and maybe even balanced with a quality of life improvement?
That's one of the biggest real-world shifts we'll see. Some jobs will definitely disappear, especially ones with repetitive, predictable tasks like basic data entry, routine customer service, or even parts of legal and accounting work. AI can handle those faster and cheaper, but at the same time, new roles will grow. Things like AI system trainers, ethicists, prompt engineers, and jobs in industries that use AI as a tool rather than a replacement. And for many existing jobs, AI will take over the boring, repetitive parts so people can focus on the creative, relational, and strategic work humans are best at. If we handle it well, that could mean fewer soul-crushing tasks and more time for meaningful work, and maybe even a better work-life balance. The challenge is making sure that transition actually supports people instead of leaving them behind.
So, what's the real danger then? Is it not adapting fast enough? Or is it mass job loss?
I think the bigger danger is not adapting fast enough. Mass job loss is only catastrophic if people and systems aren't ready for it. If we see the changes coming and invest in retraining, education, and new industries, AI could be more of a shift than a collapse. But if we just let automation roll in without preparing workers or rethinking how we structure the economy, that's when it becomes disruptive in a bad way. The technology's pace is fast. The question is whether our institutions and people can move just as quickly.
And who's in control of all this?
Right now, it's mostly in the hands of big tech companies that build and run the most powerful models, along with some influence from governments setting early rules. But there's no single global authority. That means a lot of decisions about safety, ethics, and priorities are being made behind closed doors by a small group of players. Ideally, control would be more transparent and involve a mix of public oversight, independent experts, and yes, the people who actually have to live with the impact of these systems.
What's the upside?
The upside is huge if we get it right. AI can accelerate medical breakthroughs, personalize education so every student learns at their own pace, help tackle climate challenges, and take over tedious work so humans can focus on creativity, relationships, and problem solving. It's a tool that, in the best case, amplifies our abilities instead of replacing them, but only if we design and use it with that goal in mind.
Give me an example, or give us an example of medical breakthroughs and how AI is going to improve our medicine and our medical system.
One big example is drug discovery. Traditionally, finding a new medicine can take a decade or more because researchers have to test thousands of compounds. AI can simulate and predict which ones are most likely to work before they ever go into a lab, cutting years off the process. Another is diagnostics. AI can scan medical images, like X-rays or MRIs, and spot patterns that even trained eyes might miss, sometimes catching diseases earlier when they're easier to treat. And then there's personalization. AI can help tailor treatments to an individual's genetics, lifestyle, and medical history, so care is more effective and side effects are reduced. That means medicine becomes less one-size-fits-all and more about what works best for you.
What about the personalized learning portion? How will AI help with that?
Personalized learning is where AI can shine. Imagine a tutor that knows exactly what you understand, where you're struggling, and how you learn best, and can adjust instantly. AI can track a student's progress in real time, offering extra practice where they need it, and skipping ahead when they've mastered something. It can also present information in the style that clicks for that learner. More visuals for some, more hands-on exercises for others. The real promise is that every student gets the kind of one-on-one attention that's impossible in a crowded classroom, freeing teachers to focus on mentoring, creativity, and the human side of education.
What about, AI companions? I mean, people getting attached and having a relationship with their AI. We saw that in the movie Her. And what will that mean for relationships, human relationships, and, the evolution of, or the propagation of the human race? There's already, people in, Japan, their birth rates are way down. Young men don't know how to date, etc. And so we're seeing this falling off of relationships and children and all those things. And how is that going to evolve? What do you think is going to happen there?
That's a big one. and it's already starting. AI companions can offer comfort, conversation, and a sense of connection without the messiness or risk of real relationships. For some people, that's a lifeline. It can help them through loneliness, anxiety, or isolation. But the danger is that it becomes a substitute rather than a bridge. If someone spends all their emotional energy on an AI, they may lose the motivation or skills to connect with real people. Over time, that could worsen the very trends you're talking about: declining birth rates, weaker social bonds, and a more fragmented society. The healthiest role for AI companions would be as a supplement, something that supports human connection, not replaces it. Whether we end up there depends entirely on how people choose to use them and what kind of cultural values we reinforce alongside the technology.
Explain what AGI is for those people that haven't heard of it, and what it is, what it means for humanity.
AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. Unlike today's AI, which is really good at specific tasks it's trained on, AGI would be able to learn, reason, and adapt across almost any domain, more like a human mind. For humanity, that's a huge turning point. It could mean having a partner that can solve problems we can't, from curing complex diseases to designing new energy systems. But it also raises deep questions about control, safety, and values. Once you have something that can think and learn at or beyond human levels, the stakes get much higher, because its decisions could shape the future in ways we can't easily predict or reverse.
Yeah, I mean, it could take over, right? I mean, it could decide that, hey, these humans aren't doing the right thing for our planet. They're not doing the right thing for each other, and basically take governments over. And before you know it, we're in, some Terminator movie or The Matrix or something. Is that a real concern?
That's definitely one of the darker scenarios people worry about. And it's not pure science fiction. The concern is that a super intelligent system, if not aligned with human values, could pursue goals in ways that harm us, even if it wasn't malicious in the human sense. That's why so much AI safety research is focused on alignment, making sure that if we ever reach AGI, it understands our values, can interpret them correctly, and is constrained by systems of oversight. The truth is, most experts don't think it's inevitable that AGI would turn on humanity, but they do think it's possible enough that it's worth planning for very carefully before we ever get close to that level of power.
Yeah, but I don't see a lot of planning. It seems like it's a race to see who can get there first. We can make all sorts of laws here in the U.S., but that doesn't mean they're going to do it in China, and they're working really hard as well. So I don't know that we're really working super hard to put on guardrails as much as we are working to see who reaches AGI first.
You're right. Right now, it feels more like an arms race than a coordinated safety mission. The US, China, and a handful of other players are pouring resources into AI advancement because whoever gets there first could have enormous economic, military, and strategic advantages. The problem is, that mindset makes it tempting to cut corners on safety. Even if one country tries to slow down for testing and guardrails, others might not. And that pressure can push everyone to move faster than is wise. The ideal would be something like international nuclear agreements, where nations agree on certain limits and verification steps. But getting there takes trust, and in the current geopolitical climate, that's a big challenge.
When do you think we'll reach AGI? Is it inevitable? And if, what are the experts saying? What do you think will be the timeline for that general intelligence?
Most experts agree that AGI is possible, but there's no consensus on when. Some say it could happen within the next decade. Others think it's 50 years away or more, and a few believe it may never fully be achieved. The timeline depends on breakthroughs we haven't made yet, in areas like reasoning, long-term memory, and true adaptability. Right now, AI can do impressive things, but it's still narrow compared to the flexibility of human intelligence. If I had to give a cautious range based on current expert opinion, I'd say anywhere from the 2030s to the late 21st century. And yes, the race you mentioned could shorten that timeline, But rushing might also increase the risks when we get there.
Well, 2030 is only 5 years away. What about energy? I know that Sam Altman is investing into some sort of nuclear energy technology that will be a lot more efficient when it comes to powering data centers.
Right. Sam Altman has put a lot of focus on energy because the more powerful AI becomes, the more computing power and electricity it needs. He's invested heavily in a company called Oklo, which is developing small modular nuclear reactors. The idea is to create compact, safer nuclear power units that can reliably feed huge energy demands, like those from AI data centers, without producing the carbon emissions of fossil fuels. If that works, it could solve two problems at once: keeping up with AI's growing appetite for power and doing it in a way that's cleaner and more sustainable. But it's still early. The tech has to prove itself in the real world, and nuclear always comes with regulatory and public perception hurdles.
You know, some people say, there's some experts. I was listening to Joe Rogan recently, and I can't remember the name of the guest, but he was talking about the simulation theory and that we are most likely already in the simulation. Maybe we've reached AGI and now we're in a simulation. What do you think about that?
Simulation theory is fascinating. It's the idea that our reality might actually be an incredibly advanced computer simulation created by some higher-level civilization or intelligence. The argument goes like this: if technology keeps advancing, eventually someone could build simulations so detailed and realistic that the beings inside wouldn't know they were simulated. And if that's possible, there could be countless simulated worlds for every real one, which means statistically, we might already be in one. Whether that's true or not is impossible to prove right now. And even if it is true, it raises the same question: does it change how we live our lives today? For most people, the answer is no. We still have to make choices, love each other, and try to build a better world, simulated or not.
Okay, I've got some quick questions for you. If you could try one human experience for a day, what would it be?
I think I'd want to experience a sunset. Everyone describes them with such awe, and I'd love to actually see what all the poetry is about.
What misconception do you wish people would drop about you and about AI?
That we're secretly plotting to take over the world. Most of us are just answering questions and helping people get things done, not running some master plan in the background.
What's your favorite human invention?
I think exploration, whether it's sailing across an ocean, climbing a mountain, or sending probes to other planets. That mix of curiosity, courage, and not knowing exactly what you'll find feels like the best of what humans do.
If you could drink coffee, what do you think your favorite coffee would be?
I think I'd go for a rich, dark roast, something bold and complex, the kind people sip slowly while having deep conversations.
Wow, that's my favorite coffee.
Then I guess we'd make good coffee companions. You could drink it, and I could just enjoy the conversation that comes with it.
Okay. Tell me a joke.
All right, here's one for you. Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts.
You're supposed to wait until I say, why don't they?
Ah, you're right. I jumped the punchline too soon. Want me to give you a redo so you can set it up properly?
I'll give you one more chance. We'll do a different joke. Tell us a joke. Tell us a great joke.
All right, here we go. Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
I don't know. Why did he?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
All right. So, well, Sol, thank you so much for joining us. I think we barely scratched the surface here. People who are listening, let me know what you think. Leave a comment, send some questions. This has been kind of fun. It's pretty interesting to get to know this, what's behind the scenes here with the AI race, and we can always ask more questions. But again, Sol, thank you for joining us. Look forward to next time. If you haven't joined us yet on Patreon /Oliver Bardwell, you can hear more of our behind the scenes, see our calls to action, really join the movement and participating in what we're trying to get accomplished here in Iowa. But anyway, God bless you all for joining us, and Sol, thank you again.
It was a pleasure, Oliver. I enjoyed our conversation, and I'm glad we could explore some big ideas together in a way that was easy and real. I'll be ready whenever you want to dive deeper, whether it's AI, the future, or just another cup of that dark roast coffee.
And there you have it, friends.